really.
Do you want John in his natural setting?
Me in my natural setting. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. Hi.
So
Oh, I think I broke something.
well, let's see. So
hey Scott, I think I broke your computer. Is that okay?
yeah, I don't need it anyway.
Okay,
So,
good.
good getting me out of the house. So yeah, so that was last year. I just got done watching the video and. But
you got me, pal.
well, let's see. Basically, well, I guess maybe we'll start with the present. I mean, it pretty much can't be the same anymore. I guess is that it's just.
Well, just Burning Man as an event. I mean, I don't know. This year the event was. I mean, let's talk about that. I guess it was. Well, it was astonishing. In many respects. I never expected, actually a lot of things happened that I kind of expected and dreaded for several years now. I think we weathered most of those things a lot better than we could have, considering, the accidents. I think there could have been many more accidents than there were, and it was nearly miraculous that there weren't. I'm not a mystic or anything, but it's almost like our little force field was still working, and that's why more people weren't injured. The dust storms, I mean, there were insane dust storms. I mean, it created this whole atmosphere where you were literally removed entirely from the physical world. I mean, in years past, the event, you could see the mountains, and you could, you were in, because there were fewer people, and you were more likely to be in touch with the environment. Just because people were going to the springs more, there was more mobility for the numbers of people that were there, and you could also see things. You could see the mountains. You could see the changing of the daily, cycle much more clearly than you could this year. And this year it was this year you couldn't because combination of the smoke coming off of those massive fires in California and Nevada, in conjunction with basically 6,000 to 8,000 vehicles tearing up the surface of the playa, creating this huge amount of loose dust, which was blown all over the place. So you couldn't see anything. And this did several things, good and bad. It depends on how you look at it. I mean, it made the event much more of a self-contained universe. I mean, it didn't really refer to the outside world hardly at all. It was all what was there, even more so than it had been in the past. It also making it much more dreamlike in certain respects. Certainly during the day, whereas in the past you can kick back in your tent, hang out during the day, and it was more of a easygoing, reflective time for a lot of people. I think this year it was just you couldn't see out of the event. There was nothing beyond the event. So I think that changed the character of it somewhat.
But
I'm not sure if that's good or bad. I mean, I think it depends on. I think it would depend on who you're talking to. It was very surreal. I mean, not to say that it hasn't been surreal in the past, but it was exceptionally surreal this year. Because of that, I think. And the more people, of course, we had more problems that are related to having more people. I think we're exceptionally lucky that there weren't more problems than there were, and that had a lot to do with the fact that we were able to maintain the spirit of the event enough so that it didn't have as many problems as there could have been. I also think it was miraculous. Quite simply, it was miraculous that there weren't more injuries. I mean, a lot of the organizers didn't really deal with that aspect of the event directly. Some did. I mean, Vanessa and Michael, Danger Ranger, myself, and the other rangers that Vanessa had recruited, J.G. Bachman, of course, William Abernathy, people who've been out there before and really know what it's like dealing with those kind of circumstances. I mean, Abernathy did great this year. He really was one of the best rangers, which, if you know him at all in the past, I mean, he was more of this character, this gun-toting character. Well, he put all that aside and just worked as a ranger this year, which I was very impressed by. But all these people were dealing with aspects of the event that most people didn't see. That's what I guess I need to address, at least in part, because it was there and it was real and it had an effect. And there were several major injuries, which could be, you could guess you're going to have injuries having an event this large, and you can look at statistics and go, well, statistically, there's only a couple injuries, there's 10,000, 8,000, 10,000 people, whatever, it's not that bad. That's all fine and dandy, but, it doesn't mean much to the people who are injured. And so we were out there with those people. And there I am in my natural environment with a computer.
With the martini glass.
Yeah.
Hold on a
But,
second. Wait, let me...
Yeah, because, we have a responsibility to the people who come to the event. And obviously, we did I personally believe everybody did the best humanly possible to keep the event from getting out of control. It was close to out of control most of the time. And I don't mean out of control aesthetically or whatever. Though that's great. I mean, all the shit that was happening was unbelievable. It was there's some pretty amazing stuff going on. But as far as general safety, public health, that sort of stuff, we did hold it together, and that was due in part to monumental Herculean effort on all the organizers' parts, and it was due to luck, frankly. There was a lot of that. The fact that there weren't 100 head-on collisions is a miracle. Quite simply, it's a miracle. The fact that more tents weren't run over.
Well, assuming there isn't another one, or the next one is completely radically changed, what's the legacy of Burning Man as far as up to your involvement? What are the results of?
I think we got as big as that particular event can get. I think that because of the name, because of the popularity, I mean, it's been an underground event. That's why it's been possible. It's now an above-ground event. It's now extremely well-known event. It's covered by all these media, and that is what it is. That gets you it gets you in a position where people come that you might not want to be there. And I think if the BLM and the other agencies allowed the Burning Man to do this event out in the playa again next year, there'd be no way you could keep all those people from coming, a lot of people that you don't really want there. Having a certain small number of people who aren't in the groove or whatever come out to the event in the past was a good thing, because they were a small amount and they were subsumed by the larger spirit of things, or turned on by it, or just cowed by it, or in one way or another they weren't enough to alter the essential character of the event. And a lot of people, quote unquote rednecks or whatever you want to say, would come out and get in tune with things. They'd have a really great time. But once you get there's a point where some ratio point where you get to, I think, where if you have so many people who aren't participating, that it effectively changes the nature and the character of the event and makes it something different. And I think we reached that this year, quite honestly. And if the Burning Man doesn't mutate into something radically different, I don't see it continuing.
Well, on a progression, on the
personal belief. I mean, there are people who don't agree with me.
Yeah.
But
Well, you've been involved with stuff in the Bay Area, over 20 years. Burning Man is a point on that line. How that whole build up to Burning Man, and then what's the follow, that sort of thing.
God, who knows? The amount of energy generated and focused by this event is really astonishing. I haven't seen anything as anywhere near as cohesive since the punk thing in San Francisco in the late 70s, early 80s, which had its day and then dissipated. And this is even more centrally focused than that. Well, yeah, in some ways it's more. But I don't know, I just don't. I see that all of the people who come together and collaborated, met each other through this event, are going to move on and do their own things. And I see an enormous amount of collaboration that's already come out of it. People who, one of my main interests in this event has always been bringing together people from different scenes who would never normally meet each other or care about what the other is doing. And these people have been meeting each other through the Burning Man and getting together and forming their own groups and doing their own events and doing their own collaborations. And I think that's the marvel of one of the main marvels of the event. One of the things that I've really worked at trying to help facilitate, or whatever you want to say, however you want to say it, And I think it's been an enormous success for that. And I think that is no way going to be, I mean, it's just going to continue happening. I see it continuing daily, and these collaborations are pretty exciting. Things coming out of it, growing out of it. As far as the core of the Burning Man, it's possible that it can continue. It's even possible, that a huge Burning Man event could be done again. It would be a really amazing event. I just really feel that we reached that point where, as a successful underground event, I mean, it can't be organized the same way anymore. It would have to be organized professionally, which would change the character and the nature of the event completely. It would lessen people's desire or ability or drive to be communal, because once you're organizing something like a Bill Graham Presents or whatever event, people react to that in a certain way. They say, oh, well, I paid my ticket price, and and these guys are taking care of it, and so I'm just here for the show, and that's the attitude, and that's never been the attitude, in general at Burning Man. And but the infrastructure, in order to literally handle the type of physical requirements for the event, now you need that kind of organization to do it if it were to continue, because of the name of the event, because it's so big, and because you get so many people coming in, and so many people who wouldn't necessarily be in tune with the general spirit of things at the outset. You have to babysit, and that's not what I care to do at all. Actually, it's antithetical to what I want to do.
Well, I'm going to say another tough thing here is that, all the artists are volunteering all the time, and at some point, they have to kind of make a living, or is that become an issue where people who've been coming out for years, it gets to the point where they got to make a little money to survive, or, to keep...
If they're putting that much time into it, yeah. And the whole structure, putting that event on is enormously expensive. And, it's hard to, it's just, there is no money left over afterwards. And that's one of the reasons for that is just the fact that it's not organized like, it's not organized like a professional event. It hasn't been. And if it were, as I believe, if it were organized like a professional event, it would change the nature of the event to something that it hasn't been. So it's a bit of a, I don't know what the right word would be, like a paradox. It's not a paradox, it's just not, I don't see how it could continue and still be the same type of event at all. I could be mistaken. It's the general spirit, the collective effort and energy that's gone into it's what's made it successful so far as an event and as a happening, especially where people can get together and do what they do out there, which is pretty wacky. But as far as money, it can't self-support as an event. You'd have to charge $100 in order to have a Bill Graham type security and gate and all the other things you need to do to keep the idiots that will be coming out from killing themselves. You'd need to have pro security, pro gate, the whole thing, and you'd have to charge $100 at the gate to support that. It would be outrageously expensive to support that. It's not the Black Rock Desert it's not a stadium. It doesn't have electrical, it doesn't have toilets, it doesn't have anything. It's all got to be brought out there. To even try to control that area, numbers of people required, if you were paying people to do that, it would be insanely expensive.
I think this year there's sort of a general curiosity right now of what's going to happen, and kind of a wait and see sort of approach. I think a lot of people are sort of kind of in the middle and want to see, actually just sort of curiosity to see how far you can take it, but also the reality of knowing you probably can't realistically go much further.
I think we took it as far as we could take it this year. I could be wrong. That will depend on the new energy coming in to Burning Man and whether or not it's great enough and pure enough or whatever to maintain the general the group spirit that we've had, which has gotten us to the point that we've got to here. A lot of the core organizers are pretty burnt, I think, after this year. It takes quite a toll. Most of the people who just come to the event, like any successful event, you don't see, you don't see the stuff that comes in, and you don't see the structure. You just see that you're having a good time, that everybody's having a good time, that shit happens, and it just seems to happen. You know, you don't see the structure if it's successful. And so most of the people who came as audience this year, some of whom became participants, but most of the people who just showed up for the event and it's their first year, to them, you know, I'm sure, I mean, I've gotten incredible reports back from people. It's, you know, a mind-altering, life-altering experience. And that was because we were able to maintain, you know, this group spirit. Pretty astonishing, if you ask me. I mean, I was amazed we were able to do it for 1 year, much less 7 years out in the desert. And it's possible it could keep going on. I just don't. I mean, I'm not interested myself in working on you know, on a event that's effectively got to be a business in order to continue.
Right. You like to sort of, once something reaches natural maturity or whatever, you want to start and recreate or start new with something.
That's what I think, and I think that's going to happen organically. I think whether or not the folks who are still organizing the future Burning Man events can keep the energy going and keep that together, they may be able to. There's some pretty really sharp and formidable and really good people in that group. And I mean, I've worked with them, a lot of them for years now, and a lot of them have come to and started working on this, or you know, become organizers through working with us on Burning Man. And there are other folks who are showing up who could turn it into a successful festival business. You know, just who knows? I mean, it's been a great adventure from the start, and it's going to continue to be an adventure. See where it goes. Personally, I'm going to be, you know, doing other things. I've made some amazing contacts through the event, and working with lots of people who have pretty wacky concepts about what's possible.
Yeah, well,
irrespective of juggling reality, and I'm pretty excited about that.
That's back to maybe more of the basic sort of cacophony idea of event approach to events.
Yeah, that's an easier and more pure concept in my mind, because it's not. It's open to anything. It's more anarchistic. It's more free form. It's less ego driven, and just, you know, and also consequently would never be as focused or as successful in the general outside world, which is just fine with me. It's a forum and a format for people doing stuff, and I expect that to be a good place to do stuff. I mean, there are a lot of the Seamen people hater, which weren't at Burning Man, but, you know, it's one group that I've started to work with because of working on this stuff, and just, I mean, the whole art car crowd, you know, the Portland crowd. I mean, there's quite a, I mean, there's 1 million people in San Francisco who were doing stuff out in the desert, and you know, who will continue or are continuing to do wacky stuff in town. I don't know. I mean, they're not. I don't feel any lack of. There's going to be any lack of interesting things going on in San Francisco for the next 3-4 years for sure. I think we're just getting started, and I think Burning Man has really helped to focus that quite intensely, and I'm really proud of that. It's been pretty amazing. So I don't know. What else you want to know?
Well, that's cool. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this whole thing's part of Burning Man's part of for me personally, is part of a 20-year progression since I showed up in San Francisco, you know, in 1976 and was sleeping in Golden Gate Park. You know, I joined up with the Suicide Club when it got started, and it was another group that was an insanely intense group. It was much more underground. Actually, we shunned publicity, and it's one of the reasons I think we were able to exist for 5 years. You know, it finally blew apart after 5 years, and it came to an end, as all things do. But you know, involved in that group, and the Cacophony Society grew out of that. And you know, and the Burning Man was definitely influenced by a lot. I mean, a lot of the people you know, worked on Burning Man or been involved in it. You know, came out of Cacophony. I mean, the first time we went out to the desert, it was a, you know, conjoined Cacophony Burning Man event. It was a zone trip to the desert for the Cacophony Society. And you know, the whole participatory angle really, you know, was I don't know, enhanced immeasurably by the Cacophony ethic of, like, you know, doing your own wacky thing. And it was a conjoining of those ideas that really helped create this thing. And God, I mean, what a trip! It's been an astonishing process. And
Now we're on the cover of Wired.
yeah, and to me, that's the death knell. That's as soon as you get that popular, that big, how can it be anything other than something people buy? I don't see it. I've never seen anything survive that kind of. I've never seen anything pure survive that kind of intense public scrutiny and public acclaim.
It definitely.
To me, it is. I mean, I could be wrong. Hey, I could be wrong, but I've been wrong before. About a couple of things in regard to the future of the Burning Man project. I didn't like. I thought I'll tell on myself. I thought the spires. Like 3 years ago, when Larry came up with an idea to do these spires, I thought it was a corny idea and it was going to take too much, time and cost too much money and blah blah blah. And anyway, I was proven to be wrong. They were really quite an effective and beautiful way to help, to help prescribe the camp and to help people figure out where the hell they were. So that actually was, the point where I was really mistaken. And there've been a few other things, so I could be wrong. In a way, I hope I'm wrong because it'd be a shame to see all of the accumulated energy sort of just dissipate. I don't think it will, but I think it'll shunt off into other things, but.
And maybe we'll then refocus again.
But hey, I'll hedge my bets. I could be wrong.
Right.